Welcome, everyone, to A Cow's Opinion. What is A Cow's Opinion, you may ask? I'm glad you asked. A Cow's Opinion is where I, the Advanced Gaming Cow, will go through all the news, interesting stories, rumors, and everything else going through the internets and give you my opinion on them, and it's just for fun, so like, comment, and subscribe, but don't take it too offensively because it is A Cow's Opinion. It is a moo point. Today, we are looking at a couple of stories, one of the top ones being Nibel shutting down his Twitter. Now, for those of you who don't know, Nibel is somebody at Nibelian, which is kind of a cool little Twitter account name that I have, is got a 500,000 followers on Twitter. And he was really well known for breaking news and talking about news. And he would just, if anything happened, the first thing that would tweet about it would be not, because the guy would just go through Twitter scanning for results. He was almost there first, which is why so many people followed him, because he was just first. You would get the information first. You wouldn't have to worry about it being wrong. He was really good, and he made, as quoted in this article, he made a name for himself in the industry as being a trustworthy source of information as well as a calm voice when it came to his own editorializing, and he was really good. So in September, he launched his Patreon to try to, monetize it, because if you're doing something, why not see if you can make money off of it? Now, that sounds harsher than it is, but to be fair, this guy was on top of so many stories so quickly, it had to be taking up massive amounts of his free time. However, at the time of this article, the Patreon has a very healthy 985 backers, but there are only two backing tiers, $1 and $3, which means that works out to around $1,000 a month, and that's not really a living wage. Even if it was every single one, and every single one person is not at $3, but even if every single person's at $3, that is less than $3,000 a month, which is a little bare bones. And I don't know where Nibel lives, but there are certain portions of the country, I don't even know if he's in America, honestly, but it's probably not doable. So on his Patreon, Nibel says, I was not able to create an interesting and sustainable Patreon, which is evident in the number of patrons stagnating during the first weekend and the first of many pledges being deleted during the first week. And he goes on to talk about how, just his service, while cool, it's not really something that people wanted to pay for. Now, if you've ever worked a social media manager job, you know that that's really hard to show results in or worth in, and doesn't actually create. I mean, I got to be honest with you, on these news stories or the Let's Plays or the demos and stuff I play on, I'm actually trying to provide entertainment, and it's hard to get subscribers and views and interactions and stuff. So I know I feel bad for Nibel. And he goes on to discuss the recent takeover of Twitter by Elon Musk as another reason for feeling it's time to move on, as he calls it the elephant in the room, and that he doesn't believe Twitter has been run well for a while, and that this trend will not change with Musk either. The only two things I know about Twitter since Elon has taken it, apparently, is that apparently he wants to charge $20 for a blue verified checkmark, which Cal ain't never getting that. And the other thing is apparently he wants to bring back Vine with the success of YouTube Shorts and TikTok, which may actually be a good business decision. But those are expensive business decisions that are being made because the man is paying tens of billions of dollars to own this. After some introspective, I've made the decision to focus my time and energy elsewhere and move on from Twitter. This marks the end of my video games coverage and my active participation in this platform. Thanks to everyone for the fun times, as Nibel signs off and has locked his account. Now, he's not deleting his account because he was a really trusted source for news, and in his own words, he doesn't want anyone suddenly taking the name and doing a bunch of dangerous stuff. Plus, maybe he decides to come back today. So hopefully, I wish this guy well. He was a really cool source first, trusted news guy. And it just goes on to show it's kind of what's happening in the economy right now. A lot of these online things that people thought there's tons of money for are not really having as much money anymore now that there's, different economic happenings in the world and in America specifically where I believe all of this is happening. So hopefully this guy continues to do well, because he was a really cool dude. Or dudette, I don't know. I'm assuming he's a dude. In other news, Call of Duty for PlayStation ain't going anywhere, says Phil Spencer. So, if you haven't heard, and if you haven't heard, you have not been following the Cows channel, Microsoft has announced plans at the beginning of this year, January 2022, to purchase Activision Blizzard. And Sony said, So Sony has basically been arguing to anybody who will listen over the last 9 months that this is a travesty and it cannot be allowed, and that would give Blizzard just too many chokeholds on the gaming industry. Well, not Blizzard, excuse me. It would give Microsoft, because of how big Blizzard is and how beloved it is. Now, if you've been watching Blizzard's last couple of releases and some of the fans leaving, it's not as big and beloved as it used to be. But there is a chance that Microsoft could go in and clean out the toxicity and then just say, hey, just make good games, which a lot of us actually want. I'm not trying to say that alone should allow you to sell it. The Kyle stock market ownership in Activision Blizzard doesn't mean he wants you to sell it, because Kyle may make good money on that. But they're going to try to purchase Activision Blizzard for roughly $68.7 billion. You couldn't say 69 for the memes. Microsoft needs some help in their little PR stuff. But it's still pending and review, not just here in the United States, but with several places abroad. And in an interview with the Same Brain podcast, Spencer reiterated there is no plan to take the Call of Duty franchise off of PlayStation. As long as there is a PlayStation out there to ship to, our intent is that we continue to ship Call of Duty on PlayStation, similar to what we've done with Minecraft. Since we've owned that, we've expanded the places people can play Minecraft. He said in the video, we haven't reduced the places, and it's been good for the Minecraft community, in my opinion, and I want to do the same as we think about where Call of Duty can go over the years. Now, he is not wrong. And in fact, when it comes to Minecraft, Sony was the one that dragged their feet on crossplay, and there was actually some really cute PR moments when Nintendo and Microsoft's official Twitters talked about the houses they were building together and asked, is Sony coming? No, Daddy won't let him come out to play. That kind of stuff. And it was really funny. And again, I don't have a lot of sympathy for Sony in this fight. They are people who have paid for exclusivity on as much of Call of Duty as they possibly can. Exclusive missions, getting to play days if not a week early, all kinds of stuff. So look, Sony isn't in it for the gamers. Don't get them wrong. They're just really worried that one of the most popular franchises will not be available on their platform, which will make people choose more PC and Microsoft, and Xbox, which is where Microsoft is making their bread. Now, it's one of the world's biggest game franchises, and in fact, when they released Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which includes first take on a battle royale genre, it claims its sales exceeded $600 million within the first 3 days of release. Most of the best movies released any year don't even sniff $600 million in ticket sales. And these guys did it in 3 days. That's a good weekend. Now, Call of Duty Vanguard didn't sell as well as previous titles, and the number of players dipped over the summer. It is still a regular feature, and in fact, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, while being called a little by the numbers and boring, is getting a lot of praise. It's a reimagining of the original Modern Warfare 2 from over a decade ago, and it's getting a lot of worthy praise, and a lot of people are really happy about this game. And the online seems to be going pretty well. Unlike the last couple of Blizzard releases, you're not really hearing a ton of bugs or, oh my god, nerf please, or anything like that. Now, Sony has a deal. It's not in this article, but Sony has a deal where they are guaranteed they've got licensing agreements for the next 3 Calls of Duty. And Sony is really worried, just like, say, how Starfield and Elder Scrolls may only be coming to Microsoft and PC, that Microsoft may say, hey, Call of Duty belongs to us now, and after that contract is up, we just can't come up with any reason to put you on there, so we're cutting you out of the best FPS genre. Now, I'm not sure which way Microsoft would fall, because on the one hand, yes, this would definitely make a lot of gamers pick Microsoft consoles over PlayStation consoles, or just move people from PlayStation to PC, which Microsoft has been pushing a lot and would, quite frankly, still make them money while taking annual revenue out of Sony's pocket. But we do have to go back to the article where they talk about Minecraft. Now, Minecraft is not as big as Call of Duty, but it is a massively successful game. And Phil Spencer is correct. They've never done anything to show that Microsoft is going to start shafting players of Sony or Nintendo on Minecraft. Which way is it going to go? We won't know until the sale goes through. And they've been dragging their feet. Sony's been like ringing as many alarm bells worldwide in China, the UK, the EU, and America, which are really the big regions, trying to let them know, you can't do this. No, 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 no. It's going to ruin everything. I just don't think that they have. The weird thing about this type of thing, about, what's the word I'm looking for? It's late, if you can see at the bottom right of your screen. The cow had a long day. But the big thing about antitrust, is that it's on the government to prove that it would be making a monopoly or too powerful a conglomerate. It's not on Microsoft to prove that it won't. Now, currently in America, I can only comment because I live here, Democrats are in office, and they are less friendly to business than Republicans. I'm not saying they're hostile or they're not friendly a lot. They're just less friendly. And because of that, Sony is pushing really, really hard. I just don't think that they have any leg to stand on, especially when Microsoft can point to things like Minecraft as, hey, we're not going to suddenly cut out 100 million console players who might buy Call of Duty. That's tens of millions more units in sales, and we want that money. Because remember, Microsoft will make money off of Sony's console, which I honestly think is a better strategy. If you have a massive, awesome first-person shooter game coming out year after year, and your main competitor has to approve your game and sell something that says like forged by Microsoft or something on there, that's some pretty humiliating PR. But we will continue to see, and we will move on to our next story. And in our final story for this episode, EA is trying to get another Disney brand to make a lot of money with. During the most recent quarterly earnings call, pronunciation. The company has addressed and revealed the recent deal with Marvel Studios, where they are going to start making games based on the Marvel IP, and, of course, they are going to be starting with Iron Man, which is the same. It's probably not a, surprise, seeing as how the Marvel Universe's cinematic worlds were launched with Iron Man 2. But this is interesting because EA has previously done this with another Disney property, Star Wars. Now, as you know, Star Wars is very, very big for them because in 2013, EA signed a 10-year deal allowing the company to exclusively make Star Wars games for Lucasfilms, as quoted in this article. This deal resulted in moderate hits like Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, moderate because, my god, the microtransaction grind was pathetic, and Star Wars Squadrons, a very cool game, but over very quickly, didn't really have a lot of staying power. But most importantly of all, the critical hit Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It was critically acclaimed, it was a huge success, and it's actually receiving a sequel, unlike this other stuff, Star Wars Jedi Survival, and I am actually looking forward to that. This is a big deal for EA to try to do with Marvel properties, what they did with Star Wars, because EA has said that over 40% of Star Wars players went on to play other EA games, which is why they are calling this a cooperative and creative partnership rather than a transactional one. This is how they're getting new players in the door with their company. And I know that's a little weird to say because EA is a massive company. Who hasn't heard of EA? However, most of us have probably heard of EA through one thing. They're massive sports franchises. They have Madden, they have the NBA, they have soccer, they have all kinds of stuff. But if you're not into sports games, you're not really driving those trends. And they make a lot of money, especially off microtransactions and online play in those games. So if EA can get you interested in them, they are willing to do it. Now, according to EA, this Star Wars deal should be considered an overall success, given the interest it generated in players to play other games, and it looks like the publisher is hoping for a repeat with Marvel, like we said. Now, they only have announced 3 games, the Iron Man one being the first one, so it's possibly not a 10-year deal, but it could be longer and it could be expansive, and they just haven't bothered to say yet. As well as the fact that there's always the chance that EA is also going to re-up with Star Wars. Now, Disney is having a lot of problems right now. EA is making money. They talked for success of most recent FIFA game, which continues to grow year over year. The microtransactions is helping us. Disney can really use this positive for Star Wars and Marvel, because Star Wars, the trilogy that they made, veered away from Lucas's original work, which is fine, but in a terrible way, which is not fine. And the Marvel shows and movies are starting to be questioned on quality because they're just printing so many of them. Like, She-Hulk was a really fun show, don't get me wrong. But the ending, while clever and unique, isn't necessarily... It wasn't bad, but it's not what I would consider great or maybe even good. It was just... It was interesting, but it wasn't really what we were looking for. Combined with EA and Disney are both really big corporations at pulling some of the same garbage. Sometimes it's easy to get them mixed up. But when you combine this with Disney crowding their theme parks and really increasing prices at a time when people are starting to pinch their pennies, and things like the Star Wars Hotel turning into an overly expensive $5,000 2-day cosplay experience, Disney really needs to do some brand repair on Star Wars and on Marvel to make sure that fans just don't get sick of them. They spent billions on each of these IPs, and they need them to sell. We will have to wait and see how good EA is. A little, but EA games can be criticized, rightfully so, sometimes for being very pretty to look at, but derivative gameplay, bad story. They put a lot of work into the engine, and then they skimp on everything else. But just to look at some of the stuff, the Dead Space remake, probably because they realized how much Callisto Protocol from the original creators was gaining traction. But hey, I'll take more Dead Space. Jedi Survivor, as we covered in the article, is going to be really big. Dragon Age 4 is hotly anticipated and hopefully a lot better, as freaking the last couple of Dragon Age games have been going worse. And it was originally supposed to be a live game, but has since shifted to single-player focused experience. I hope that it's good, because I know a lot of people love Dragon Age and would like to see it improve. Another Mass Effect, after the trilogy with the very terrible ending, they went on a place where the game wasn't really good, had a lot of bugs. You probably see that in a lot of these. Another Need for Speed, which is, good for racing. Then here's our Iron Man game. Respawn Star Wars FPS. Respawn is the guys who did stuff like Titanfall 1 and 2, as well as they've been playing Apex. So these guys really know what it is to do when it's time to make a shooter. I'm looking forward to even seeing some footage of this. A Star Wars strategy game developed by Force Tech and other XCOM devs is in early development. And that the line between what a strategy game is and what an action game is, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'll be interested to see what they do, since the XCOM developers are currently making Midnight Suns, which is really disappointing based on what I've seen of it. Skate, it's another sports game, people are going to love it. The Omega Force hunting game, which is a AAA hunting game in the vein of Monster Hunter. It's basically them seeing how well Monster Hunter does from Capcom and seeing if they can make one too. Rust Hot by a UK independent studio, an action RPG with a fully customizable robot companion, which could be really cool. EA Sports College Football. Now that there have been changes that you have to pay athletes for their likenesses, EA took college football out for a bit, but it's coming back. It'll probably sell very well. Golf sells pretty well. I don't like the golf games, but I'm not their audience, so it's okay. Hockey, another Battlefield game. Oh god, the last one did so terrible. But they're hoping for a new narrative, and we'll have to see if it gets better. And an untitled open world action adventure game. Nothing else is known. That's just literally, this probably isn't even an accurate picture for the game. Just nobody has any idea what it is. But EA is going to have a lot of stuff coming in the pipe. That is all of your news. Did you like or have opinions on anything that we talked about? Let me know in the comments below, and hit that subscribe button while you're doing it. It really does help the channel out. These news videos do pretty dadgum well, and I am happy to actually give you my opinion. I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening and a good day, depending on when you're watching this. Play more games, because games are awesome and you deserve awesome. And I'll see you guys later.